Good afternoon, everybody. It is about 1:45 on our Friday, and we still have some clouds across the area this afternoon while other areas are seeing the sunshine. We have a chance for some spotty showers through the rest of the day, and going into the weekend, we have some rain chances that could affect your outdoor plans. Then looking ahead into next week, we've got to keep a close eye on the tropics to potentially influence our forecast here in East Tennessee. So we wanted to hop on here this afternoon and just kind of give you an update for all of these different circumstances that are going to be going on as we go through the next 7 days. Not to mention, I'm sure you're seeing rumors floating around on social media, so we want to give you our best idea of what we expect to be happening as we go into early next week. So let's start with currents. First, you're looking at our Gatlinburg camera, and you can see kind of that definitive line of the cloud deck completely covering the very top of Mount LeConte. If folks had plans today to go drive through the high elevations, well, you're going to be driving through a cloud. I'm not going to have any beautiful vistas and views from up there right now. And meanwhile, in the city, you've got the clear skies at this point, or no fog, I should say, developing, but you've got mostly cloudy conditions as you are looking up. Meanwhile, out at our Douglas Lake camera, we have had some breaks in the cloud cover here. And some folks have been out doing some fishing. They're not visible at this moment from our view, but nonetheless, it hasn't been a bad day. It's just kind of on the mild and very muggy side. We still have dew points right now in the mid to upper 60s across our area, and that just makes it feel very stuffy and heavy outside as opposed to that nice, dry, crisp fall air that we, of course, all are looking forward to. I also want to point this out right here. Notice all the land that's showing from our Douglas Lake camera from the dock in Dandridge. That's happening as TVA is allowing the water levels to lower. This is normal. They do this every fall season. And the reason that they allow the water levels to vary as much as they do is because the winter and the spring seasons are, by the averages, our wettest seasons of the year. Also, with a lot of vegetation going into dormancy, you get a lot more runoff. So when it rains, more of that rain runs off than soaks into the ground. So the combination of the higher rainfall totals, the more intense rainfall rates and prolonged periods of rain, and the lack of the rain soaking into the ground means that we got to have flood storage. So that's why they lower the water levels as we go into the winter, is to create flood storage in our large reservoirs like Douglas Lake, for example. Meanwhile, during the summer, they allow those water levels to rise so that folks can get out and have fun out on the water for recreation needs. So that's why you're noticing the lake levels starting to drop from our Douglas Lake camera. And on the radar, we've got a couple little spotty showers popping up in eastern portions of Cott County and kind of along the plateau. We're starting to notice little showers bubbling up here and there. These are going to develop and just kind of slowly meander. The valley might get one or two little spotty showers. I don't think this is going to cause a ton of trouble with your Friday night football games, but if you are going to be heading out to any of those football stadiums, you may want to just peek at the radar every now and then if you start to see some of those darker clouds developing, and you might want to throw that umbrella, the poncho, the raincoat in the car just in case you end up needing that, because we're not completely done with the rain chances for the rest of the day today just yet. So the setup that we have right now is that there's an area of low pressure that's just down to our south over northern portions of Georgia and southwestern North Carolina. And then we have the frontal boundary that low pressure system is located along. So that front kind of acts like a track. That low pressure system is going to follow along that track off to the northeast tonight and into the day tomorrow as it does so. So you can see kind of how the clouds are being pulled up out of the south, which is a direct line from the Gulf. So that's why we've had the elevated rain chances for the last several days. So you can kind of see that low right there move off to the northeast overnight tonight. By tomorrow morning, that low pressure is leaving. We may start the day with some patchy fog, but otherwise partly sunny skies are expected in the morning, and then showers and storms quickly blossom up as we go throughout the afternoon. So don't be caught off guard by that. There are chances for showers and storms by the early to mid-afternoon, and by 5 p.m. this is what things could look like, with the best rain chances being for areas along and east of I-75 through the back half of the day tomorrow. Now Sunday, if you want to do things outside for the back half of the weekend, we may start the day with some patchy fog. That's kind of that gray that you're seeing there in the valley and over into the mountains. But we'll have partly to mostly sunny conditions as we go through the afternoon. After sunset, we may notice a few spotty showers developing in our eastern areas, coming down toward the southwest. So that's where the spotty showers comes into play for our Sunday. And then into Monday, this is going to start to take our attention right here. That is a focus on the tropics. So focusing on the weekend one more time for East Tennessee, highs get near 80 degrees both Saturday and Sunday. Saturday has the better chance for the scattered showers and storms. as soon as we get into the afternoon. And then for Sunday, patchy fog in the morning, a mix of clouds and sun during the afternoon, a stray spotty shower possible, but most folks end up staying dry. If you're heading down to Starkville, Mississippi for that football game, kickoff is at 4 p.m. Eastern time. Starkville, Mississippi is in Central Time, so that would be 3:15 in Starkville. Temperatures will likely be in the low to mid 80s at that point. We'll have mostly sunny skies, northerly winds at 5 to 10 miles per hour, so it's going to be warm but mostly sunny if you are heading down to Starkville to root on Tennessee as they take on Mississippi State. Now let's talk about the tropics. We have two areas that we are watching that could possibly influence our weather as we go into next week. The first is Hurricane Humberto. This system is in a favorable environment. It is very healthy. You can see a very clearly defined eye right there. It's got great outflow right now. Humberto is going to strengthen rapidly tonight and into the day tomorrow, likely becoming a major Category 3 hurricane, possibly as strong as a Category 4 as it tracks off toward the west and the northwest. I'll show you that track in just a moment. But it's this system right here, Invest 94L, still very disorganized at this point, but this is the one that we're going to have to watch to potentially influence our forecast as we go into next week. So first, Humberto. That system strengthening is going to kind of very slowly, moving at a snail's pace, move off toward the west. It's still going to be way down here, not far from where it is right now by the time we get into Sunday night. Monday, it's going to start to turn a little bit more to the north and then to the northeast, passing between the east coast of the United States and Bermuda. But notice how far away it is from the east coast. We're not expecting Humberto to directly come to the United States. However, Humberto is one of the players that are on the field that could influence what happens with Invest 94L. Now, Invest 94L is, like I said, still very messy right now near the Turks and Caicos, but once it gets into the Bahamas, as we go through the day tomorrow or potentially into Sunday, it's going to be in a more favorable environment to get itself organized. So here's how this could go, walking you through the timeline here. This is very likely going to become, eventually, Tropical Storm Imelda. Imelda is the next name on the list. If there needs to be tropical alerts, either storm surge watches or warnings or tropical storm watches or warnings issued, before that happens, the National Hurricane Center may designate this as a potential tropical cyclone so that it can start issuing those alerts and advisories. This is all just kind of nomenclature. What it is termed as doesn't really matter. Once the system gets organized, the models will start to have a better idea of where it's going to go. Right now, they're just kind of starting in a general vicinity with just general showers and storms and being like, yeah, that's going to become this down the road. So it's understandable that they're all over the place from run to run. However, once the system gets better organized and gets that name, we'll have higher confidence in where the system could go. So take everything I'm showing you right now with a grain of salt. That's why we wanted to spend some really in-depth time kind of explaining this to you so that you understand. I know I also would like to know where it's going to be, when it's going to be, and what the impacts are going to be. We just don't know yet. It's too early. The system hasn't formed. By this weekend, though, it should. And it does look like it's going to kind of parallel the east coast of Florida here. So east coast of Florida, big waves, rough surf, maybe some storm surge because of the onshore flow, and some very heavy rain. Meanwhile, here's the core of that system. This is now Monday morning. That's about as far out as our high-resolution models go. And on its current trajectory, you may be looking at that and being like, well, obviously it's going to go into the southeast. Not necessarily. Some of our models, here's the three scenarios that our models show. Some models bring it inland. Some models bring it up to the coast and then bring it to a screeching halt. It sits there for a couple of days and then comes inland. Or our models bring it up to the southeast coast, pause, and as Humberto passes to the east of it, it catches and takes it off into the Atlantic. So those are the three very distinct scenarios that we're seeing from our models right now, and none of them is a consensus. So there's not a lot of confidence in which one of those has the most likely scenario of happening because there are just too many factors and the system hasn't formed yet. Now let's talk less about the details of where it's going to go and what the name's going to be, and focus a little bit more on the impacts because we are seeing confidence in that. There's the plume of moisture from future Imelda being pulled up into the southeast. Even if the storm does not make landfall, that scenario is going to happen. So long-range models are showing the potential for some very heavy rainfall in eastern portions of South Carolina through the majority of the state of North Carolina, and then into portions of Virginia as well. So where you see the oranges and the reds, that's where we are already starting to talk about the need for people to start to take action planning ahead for that, because we do have confidence that heavy rain is going to happen here regardless of what the system does. Now, our forecast here in East Tennessee, what you see with those blue colors right there, that's a ½ inch to 1 inch of rain. So I just want to go ahead and emphasize to you that the heaviest rain right now looks to be in the mountains of western North Carolina and eastward. Some of that is going to make its way across the mountains and probably into our viewing area, so we might have to boost our rain chances, but that's where our forecast is going to depend on whether it comes inland, kind of skims through, or turns away. It's important when you're seeing things going on online that just because a system might affect Raleigh doesn't mean that it's going to affect Knoxville. These are very distinct, different locations, so it's important to really focus on that aspect of information when you're looking at it online, because this looks scary. This is going to be rough for them. That's not the same impacts that we're going to have in our viewing area. So that's the important distinction. It is not lost on me that this is happening right around marking 1 year since Hurricane Helene came through this region, and we're talking about a tropical system and heavy rain. I understand that this is a sensitive subject, which is why we're spending a lot of time talking about this. If there is heavy rain again in the mountains of North Carolina, we might see some of our rivers rise here in East Tennessee again. Not to the level of Hurricane Helene. Remember, that was a once in a century, once in a lifetime storm that we had. And I know some of you at home, I can hear you right now going, yeah, but I'm not saying that it's impossible. I'm saying it's improbable that we see that type of thing happen again. But we might see some lesser impacts than what we had from Helene happen in the same areas that are still working to recover from last year's storm. So I understand why this is a sensitive subject, and that's why we're spending the time talking on it so much. So to review, tropical system, potentially future Imelda, is expected to bring very heavy rain to the Carolinas and up into Virginia. As far as impacts for East Tennessee, big question mark at this point still. We may have to boost our rain chances as we go into next week, depending on how much of that moisture comes across the mountains here, and we might see some localized flooding in our area from that too if the rain gets here. There's also a chance if that system stops and then goes out into the Atlantic that we don't have rain next week. So it could kind of go either way. The important part is that you're watching this right now on Friday afternoon, coming up on 2 p.m. Things are going to change a lot as we go throughout the weekend, as I was just explaining here, with how organized that system becomes and when the models finally come into agreement. So through the weekend, just check back for updates. Check our social media pages, our website. Join us on TV for our newscast. We will be putting the information out there, but you got to come looking for it. Communication is a two-way street when it comes to this stuff. Early next week, we do have chances for rain as of right now, but it's entirely going to be dependent on what happens with that tropical system. And then later next week, we'll see how quickly that rain can get out of here and if we'll have a chance to dry out. Overall, the other thing I wanted to tell you is we don't have any big shots of cool and dry air in the forecast for at least the next 7 days right now. So for those of you who are at home going, man, I wish it would just start to feel a little bit more like fall, just not yet. Unfortunately, it does look like, or fortunately, depending on whether you like this or not, it does look like we are going to see temperatures still topping out a little bit above average in the low 80s as we go into next week. Our average high, as of today actually, is 79 degrees now at this point. So eventually we'll start to have that cooler, drier fall-like air moving back into East Tennessee. It's just not coming as of right now. Instead, we've got to focus on the potential for some rain from a tropical system as we go into next week. A lot of uncertainty. We will be doing our best to convey the information to you. Check back for updates to that forecast, and have a great rest of your Friday, everyone.